Heartwarming revelation, CEO discovers amazing waitress sleeping in booth. What he did changed her life forever. The clinking of silverware echoed through the small-town diner on the corner of Main Street, a symphony of laughter and chatter enveloping the air like a warm hug. As Clara, only 30, and a mother of young Annie, darted through the patchwork maze of booths, her heart weighed heavy with exhaustion. Life had become a blur of endless shifts at the diner, followed by late nights cleaning houses to make ends meet, all while her husband served overseas. A smile on her face masked the weariness that lurked beneath. She was a warrior. But that evening, as the sun dipped low and the diner quieted in the aftermath of the dinner rush, it was impossible to stay awake. With her apron askew, she surrendered to sleep in the corner booth, the hum of contented voices fading into the distance. Jake, a successful CEO from the city, sauntered through the diner doors after a grueling day of meetings, blissfully unaware of the hidden struggles plaguing those around him. He was used to the thrill of boardrooms and high stakes but never expected to encounter a scene that would strike him to his core. As he settled into a red vinyl seat and ordered a cheeseburger, he couldn't help but notice Clara, slumped over, the weight of her world resting on her weary shoulders. In a flash, memories from his youth tugged at the corners of his heart. He remembered the long nights studying, working part-time jobs to help his family, and feeling invisible in a world that seemed intent on pushing him down. The irony was stark. Here he was, living the American dream, yet surrounded by the grim reality of so many others who worked tirelessly just to survive. He felt a knot form in his stomach. How many Claras wandered through life, unseen and unheard? As his heart ached, a regular at the diner leaned in close, quietly revealing Clara's plight, the sacrifices she made daily to provide for Annie, her determination paired with the struggle for survival. At that moment, he felt the stirrings of responsibility. Could he, with the privilege of his success, do something to lift her from the weight of her burdens? Before he had time to overthink, Jake found himself standing. "Excuse me," he said to the waitress who was only half delivering his fries, no longer merely a passerby but a man ready to act. Clara stirred, blinking through the haze of her fatigue. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, genuinely concerned. As she straightened in the booth, confusion spread over her face. But Jake continued. "You're incredibly hardworking. I couldn't help but notice." Before he finished, he cleared his throat, heart pounding. "I'd like to offer you a job at my tech firm." The words tumbled out, an echo of hope stretching across the diner like the first rays of dawn. "Wait, what?" Clara's hands trembled, doubt creeping in. Conversation stilled as other diners turned to them, anticipation wrapping around them like a living thing. Whispers began to float in the air, some hopeful, some doubtful, as eyes measured her worthiness. Would she leap into the unknown? The warmth of their small-town camaraderie encased them, but a ripple of tension threaded through the air. Clara's heart raced as she stood at a crossroads, the entirety of her future dangling in the balance. Would she accept the unexpected offer that could usher in a future filled with promise and transformation? The weight of hope and fear danced in the air, and as Jake waited for her answer, the community held its breath, primed to witness the intersection of two very different worlds. What choice would she make, and how would it unfold for Annie? The question lingered, potent and electric, echoing throughout the diner. Clara felt the room spin as Jake's words hung in the air, heavy with promise and uncertainty. She shook her head, trying to clear the fog of sleep and disbelief. A job at a tech firm? It seemed unimaginable, slipping through her fingers like water. The din of the diner faded, leaving her facing a moment of profound decision, the eyes of her fellow diners burning into her. "What do you mean?" She finally found her voice, a mix of hope and disbelief crackling in her chest. "I've never done anything like that before." Jake leaned in, his eyes filled with earnestness. "I see you working every day, and I admire your strength. I can't help but think you're capable of so much more than this," he gestured around the diner, "and you deserve a chance. If not for you, then for Annie." Clara's heart clenched at the mention of her daughter. The thought of giving Annie a better life tugged at her, igniting a flicker of bravery within her chest. But the fear of the unknown loomed large. Would she be enough? Across the booth, patrons began to murmur amongst themselves. Some offered words of encouragement, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Clara felt a weight of expectation settle around her. "Clara, you're more qualified than you think," Jake continued, his tone gentle. "You manage multiple responsibilities every day. That resilience is what we need." As the certainty of his words washed over her, Clara's mind raced. Could she really step into that world? What if she failed? What if she took the leap and it all crashed around her? I can't just leave my job here." Her voice barely rose above a whisper, the possibility of uprooting her entire life sending shivers down her spine. But Jake wasn't stepping back. "And what if this could be a fresh start for you and Annie? I can help you find your footing. You wouldn't have to do it alone." There was a warmth in his voice, an openness that felt almost like a lifeline. A flicker of light danced in Clara's heart. This strange connection, born out of her vulnerability, was feeding a wish long buried beneath the mundane. But was she ready to risk it all? Silence stretched, thick with the tension of anticipation. The faces around her, each a mix of hope and curiosity, pressed into her senses. Annie's face flashed in her mind, her bright smile, the way she clutched her favorite teddy bear like it was her whole world. "Okay," Clara breathed, the word barely emerging from her lips, trembling with uncertainty. Jake leaned forward, a spark of encouragement glimmering in his eyes. "When can you start? I can help you with all the details. The first step is to believe in yourself." Her heart soared for a moment before the weight of reality crowded back in. "I need to think about it. It's a lot, you know." "Of course," he nodded, understanding flickering across his face. But underneath the surface of their conversation, Clara felt an undeniable shift, a crack in her old life where new possibilities could seep in. As she stepped back, the shift within her surged alongside the reactions of those watching. The diner buzzed with excitement, the chatter of her fellow diners breaking the spell of silence. But the momentary glow of hope became clouded as darker thoughts of responsibility settled. What if she couldn't meet Jake's expectations? What if she failed to make it work for Annie? "Take your time, Clara," Jake said softly, sensing her hesitation. "I'll be here, whenever you're ready." As Clara looked down at her hands, trembling slightly, she felt the weight of decision welling inside her. Courage was a fickle friend, and yet, standing on the precipice of a new life, she could see both the shadow and the light. Would she choose comfort or take the plunge into the unknown that beckoned just beyond the edge? With her heart pounding and the eyes of the diner still upon her, Clara took a deep breath, as if summoning the courage hidden within. Would she embrace this chance, or would fear trap her in the life she had always known? The diner fell into a hush again. The moment hung like a delicate balance, where choice and consequence danced hand in hand, waiting for that pivotal decision that could change everything. What would she decide next? Clara left the diner that night with the weight of Jake's words swirling in her mind. Each step towards her tiny apartment felt like a shuffle through thick fog, uncertainty wrapping around her like a wet blanket. What had she agreed to? The thought of a job in the tech world, filled with computers, codes, and people who understood things she barely grasped, both thrilled and terrified her. When she opened the door to her apartment, the familiar scent of the old paint and the faint trace of Annie's toys met her like an old friend. Clara shut her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. She could hear Annie's gentle snoring from the bedroom down the hall. That sound, so innocent and sweet, grounded her. It tethered her to her real reason for considering this leap into the unknown. As she moved softly through the hallway, she pushed open the door to Annie's room. The soft glow of a nightlight cast a gentle circle around her daughter's sleeping form. Clara smiled, her heart swelling with affection. How could she make this miracle work for Annie? Pulling a chair close to the bed, she sat down and brushed a stray hair from Annie's forehead. She remembered the countless nights they spent reading together, the dreams woven between the stories of princesses, brave knights, and adventurous journeys. Clara wanted more than anything for Annie to see her mother embrace a life of possibilities. "How do I do it?" she whispered to the sleeping child, knowing no one could answer. For the rest of the night, sleep eluded Clara. She tossed and turned, her mind racing with visions of open office spaces and buzzing conversations that felt foreign yet inviting. She thought of Jake's eyes so confident as he spoke to her, as if he could see a future in her that she couldn't yet grasp. As dawn crept through the window, brushing the walls with hues of orange and pink, Clara felt a shift within her. The veil of fear was still there, but it began to lighten under the brightness of a new day. This job could be the step to providing a better life for herself and Annie, one where they could have more than just enough. It might be a dim flicker, but hope began to spark inside her. Over coffee, Clara sat at the small kitchen table, grappling with the list of what-ifs bouncing in her mind. What if she failed? What if she got lost in a world she didn't belong to? But then, a voice whispered back, louder now, what if she thrived? She recalled her resilience in juggling so many roles: already single mother, waitress, provider. Why couldn't those skills translate into something more? With a determined exhale, Clara grabbed a notepad and pen. She wrote "I am capable" at the top of the page, underlined it, and then added a few more affirmations beneath. "I want this. I will try." As each word flowed onto the paper, she felt a little stronger. The stillness of the apartment was interrupted by a soft voice. "Mommy?" Annie appeared, rubbing her eyes and stifling a yawn. "Good morning, sweetheart," Clara replied, pulling her daughter into a warm embrace. "I've been thinking about some exciting changes." Annie's face lit up, curiosity shining through her sleepy haze. "Like what? Are you going to get a new job?" "Yes, something like that," Clara smiled, feeling the old fear tug at her heart again but pushing it away like a faded shadow. "I might try something new that could help us have a better life." Annie clapped her small hands, excitement bubbling from her tiny frame. "Can I help?" "Oh, darling," Clara laughed softly, "your support is all I need." As they shared breakfast, a sense of warmth and possibility filled the room. Clara wondered if this could be the dawn of a new era for them. The journey ahead felt daunting, yet thrilling, a combination she hadn't expected to feel. With a newfound resolve, Clara decided to call Jake later that day. She would take the plunge. But a little voice inside still warned her, what if this new life turned out to be more than she was ready for? As she finished breakfast and glanced out the window, the sun shining high in the sky above, a question lingered in the air. What kind of challenges awaited her beyond this threshold of change? With her heart racing and a mixture of hope and fear swirling inside, Clara prepared herself to step forward. The leap was nothing compared to the reality of what might come next. Clara held her breath as she picked up the phone, her fingers trembling slightly over the numbers. She had rehearsed the conversation a million times, but now, everything felt so real. Fear seemed to creep back in, knotting her stomach, as she pressed the call button. "Come on, Jake, pick up," she whispered to herself. After a few rings, Jake's familiar voice rolled through the line, warm yet confident. "Clara." "Hey, you're calling, that's a good sign." "Hi, Jake," she said, trying to keep her voice steady, but it wavered at the end. "I've thought a lot about the job offer." "Yeah." He sounded hopeful, and that gave her the strength she needed. "I want to give it a shot," Clara admitted, releasing a breath she didn't know she was holding. The fear still twisted in her gut, but it felt lighter somehow. "Awesome. We can sort out the details," he replied enthusiastically. "You're going to do great." Clara smiled, his excitement infectious. "I hope so. But I have to be honest, I have no idea what I'm getting into. The tech world feels overwhelming." "That's normal," he assured her, his reassurances working like a balm over her nerves. "You'll learn. Just remember, everyone started somewhere." I'll be there to guide you through. The sincerity in Jake's voice was grounding. They continued to chat, and Clara found herself laughing, even as her worry lingered. It felt good to connect, to dive into a conversation about something beyond her day-to-day life. After they hung up, Clara sat still for a moment, her heart swelling with a mixture of hope and anxiety. A leap into the unknown felt close now, like she was standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to fly. "Mommy, what did Jake say?" Annie popped her head into the room, her big eyes curious. Clara rushed to gather herself. "He said I can start soon. I'll be working in a tech company, sweet pea." "Wow! That's amazing." Annie bounced on her toes, her excitement contagious. Clara felt her heart fill with warmth. If only Annie knew how daunting this felt. "It isn't it? We might have a lot more fun things to do soon." Annie's face lit up. "Like going to the zoo?" "Exactly." Clara replied, feeling a sense of purpose pulse within her. She began to see this change not just as a worry about workload but as an opportunity in awakening. Days passed with a whirlwind of preparation. Clara attended meetings with Jake, who became a mix of mentor and friend, guiding her through technical jargon she struggled to absorb. But with every bite of information came a little more confidence. It was as if she were piecing together a puzzle, bit by bit. One afternoon, after a particularly intense training session, Clara stood in front of a mirror and made a decision. She would not be defined by fear anymore. Each day, she practiced those affirmations in front of her reflection. "I am capable. I will try." Yet, as she stared into her own eyes, deeper concerns started to swirl. Clara was adapting, but how would she manage this new life with Annie? The nights spent studying were exhausting. Her heart ached when she thought about missing moments with her daughter. Clara's resolve shook slightly. What if she was pulling away from the very thing that mattered most? That night, Clara heard a quiet knock on her door. It was Annie, her small silhouette framed by the hallway light. "Mommy," the little girl said softly, "can we read before bed?" "Oh, sweetheart, of course." Clara's heart ached with love as she pulled Annie close to her side. That small moment grounded her. Maybe the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but it could lead them to a better future together. As they turned pages of a favorite book, Clara felt a sense of clarity amid her chaos. She could do this. For Annie, for herself. A flicker of hope brightened her mind. "I can be great at this," she thought, her pulse steadying. But as she tucked Annie in that night, a nagging thought lingered. Would this new life take her away from what truly mattered? And just as sleep began to pull her into its embrace, Clara wondered how she could balance both worlds without losing herself along the way. The question clawed at her as exhaustion washed over her. What sacrifices would come with her new dreams? Clara woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose. Sunlight streamed through her window, casting warm rays that nudged her into consciousness. It was a new day, a new beginning. Today was the start of a journey that might shake up the very foundations of her life. Annie was still nestled under her dinosaur-patterned blanket, the edges of her mouth forming the tiniest smile in her sleep. Clara leaned down to kiss her forehead, a soft "I love you" escaping her lips, carrying a weight of hope and commitment. As she prepared breakfast, mixing eggs and flipping pancakes, Clara took a deep breath and focused on the moment. The aroma wafting through the kitchen filled her with warmth. These were the simple moments that reminded her of why she was making this leap. For the first time in a while, excitement bubbled in her chest. After breakfast, Clara dropped Annie off at school, her daughter skipping through the gates with giddy laughter as she waved goodbye. Watching her run, Clara felt a pang of guilt, a familiar weight that tugged at her heart. Was she making the right choice? But the thought was interrupted when her phone vibrated with a message from Jake. "Ready for your first day? Let's crush it." With a steadying breath, Clara texted back an enthusiastic, "Absolutely." As Clara parked in front of the sleek glass office building, butterflies danced wildly in her stomach. She took a deep breath and stepped out of her car. The imposing structure seemed to loom over her like a giant, but she stood tall, clutching her bag like a shield. Inside, everything buzzed. The sound of keyboard clacking filled the air, mingled with the clicking of high heels on polished floors. She followed Jake's earlier instructions, catching sight of him waving from across the room. His reassuring smile made her feel a little more at ease. "Clara. You made it," he said as she approached, his enthusiasm radiating through the air. "Yeah, I'm here," she replied, her nerves still evident. Jake led her to a conference room where they would be kicking off orientation. As they settled into chairs, Clara listened intently. The team introduced themselves, each sharing a little about their roles and experiences. Clara nodded along, absorbing it all, even while the words blurred together occasionally. Yet there was one name that resonated, a colleague named Sarah who had once been a single mother too. Clara's heart raced as she recounted her journey of balancing work, life, and raising a child. "It's tough, but you learn to adapt. You'll find your rhythm," Sarah advised, her voice steady and inspiring. Clara felt a flicker of solidarity. Maybe she wasn't alone in this struggle after all. The day flew by in a thrilling mess of information, responsibilities, and newfound connections. But as the clock ticked closer to 5 p.m., an unease tugged at her. The thrill of the day began to fade, and the idea of returning home felt overwhelming. Would Annie be okay after school? "Hey, do you want to grab dinner with us? We're heading to a local spot after work. It'll be fun," Jake asked, breaking into her thoughts. Clara hesitated. "I should go home, come on. Just one dinner. It'll help you unwind," he pressed, his smile inviting. A debate sparked within her. It felt selfish to leave Annie for a few more hours, but the chance to bond with her new co-workers and explore this new world of hers was enticing. "I guess, just for a little while," Clara answered, trying to mask her uncertainty. The rest of the evening unfolded in laughter and chatter, but Clara couldn't shake the guilt that gnawed inside her. The fun seemed to amplify her worry instead of dulling it. With every laugh shared, she remembered Annie alone at home, waiting for her. As Jake drove her home, his easy demeanor began to feel distant. She found herself looking out the window, lost in thought. While she genuinely wanted to embrace this new chapter, another fear crept in. Would she always be torn between being a devoted mother and her aspirations? Jake, sensing something was off, turned to her. "You okay, Clara? You seem a bit spacey." "I'm fine," she hesitated, but the answer felt hollow. Pulling into her driveway, she braced for the inevitable discussion with Annie. She hoped her little girl wouldn't notice the weight Clara felt in her heart. As Clara walked through the door, she was met with the delighted squeal of her daughter. Yet, even in that moment of love, the question loomed large. Could she balance the demands of her new role without losing touch with her most precious bond? And just as Clara found herself crouched down for a hug, a thought lingered: how would she survive this delicate dance between dreams and motherhood? The next morning came too quickly for Clara. The sun peeked through her curtains, but instead of warmth, it felt like pressure. She blinked, trying to shake off the remnants of her restless night. Thoughts of the previous day swirled in her mind, a mix of excitement and guilt that left her stomach churning. Annie was already up, her tiny fingers clumsily trying to tie her hair into a ponytail. She wore a dinosaur t-shirt, her favorite. Clara felt a rush of affection watching her daughter tackle the hairbrush, and for a moment, the weight in her chest lightened. They shared breakfast, and between bites of cereal, Annie couldn't stop talking about her day at school. "Mom, we learned about dinosaurs. Did you know there were some that were as long as a bus?" Annie exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. "That's amazing," Clara replied, genuinely smiling. Yet, beneath that smile, doubt began to creep back in. As much as she relished these mornings, she couldn't shake the feeling of being pulled in two directions. Work awaited her, yet her heart tugged at staying with Annie, even if they were just organizing crayons or planning a pretend tea party. Eventually, Clara gathered her things as Annie prepared for school. The little girl hugged her tightly. "I'll miss you today, Mommy." "I'll miss you too, sweet pea," Clara murmured, brushing a kiss against Annie's cheek. As she watched Annie scamper off to catch the school bus, the battle within Clara intensified. Her phone buzzed again, another encouraging message from Jake. "Let's kick some butt today." It struck her how differently they seemed to navigate the world. He believed in seizing opportunities while she felt tethered to family. Morning traffic felt endless. Thoughts of Annie's excited face were mixed with worries about fulfilling expectations at work. Clara parked and took a moment before stepping into the building. She could see the glass walls reflecting a woman who was determined, yet scared. The office buzzed, just like the day before, but there was a new air of urgency. Jake called a meeting to outline the week's projects. Clara sat attentively, but the words faded into white noise. As the conversation deepened around her, she saw Sarah in the corner, the way she leaned in, always conscious of balancing work with family. "Clara, do you have anything to add?" Jake asked suddenly, pulling her from her thoughts. The eyes of the team turned toward her. She felt her heart pound as she fumbled for words. This was her moment to assert herself, but fear took over. I just think we should involve the team more in planning," Clara stuttered, her mind racing. She could feel the warmth of embarrassment creeping into her cheeks. "That's a great idea. Collaboration will definitely help us meet our goals," Jake encouraged, flashing her a warm smile. The room buzzed with agreement, and Clara felt a flicker of confidence ignite momentarily. Maybe there was a place for her here, she thought. Maybe she could blend this part of her life with her role as a mother. Throughout the morning, she began to see glimmers of her potential. A few on-the-fly suggestions led to brainstorming sessions that brought fresh ideas to the table. Just when she was beginning to feel stronger, her phone buzzed again. A notification that knocked the wind out of her. It was from Annie's school. "Emergency notification, please come pick up your child immediately." Panic washed over Clara like a cold wave. Her carefully constructed world felt like it was coming apart. She bolted from her chair, the weight of her responsibilities crashing down. She clutched her bag, her pulse racing. "I have to go. Annie needs me." Jake stood up, concern etching his face. "Is everything okay?" Clara shook her head, the worry twisting inside her. "I don't know." As she raced to her car, she thought of the balance she was trying so hard to maintain. The fear of not being enough as a mother swelled. Did she take the right leap in chasing her dreams? Could she handle both? With her heart pounding, the engine roared to life. Clara pulled away, desperate. For answers, but most of all, for her little girl. What awaited her at school, and how would she face the reality of being the mother Annie needed? The drive to the school felt like a blur. Clara's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Was Annie hurt? Was she sick? The thought of something being wrong sent panic coursing through her veins. She thought of all the times she had almost left work early for her daughter but had reassured herself that it wouldn't matter. Yet now, here she was, wishing she could shove the world aside to be with her. As she pulled into the school parking lot, she spotted the unmistakable blue and white of Annie's school. The scene was chaotic. Parents were collecting their children, and the atmosphere felt layered with urgency. Clara's heart thumped louder with every step she took toward the entrance. Inside, the receptionist's concerned expression clued Clara in before she even asked. "Clara, we've been waiting for you," the woman said, leading Clara into a small waiting room. Annie sat in the corner, her wide eyes darting around, filled with fear and confusion. The sight of her brought Clara's gut to a tight knot. "Mommy!" Annie leaped into her arms, the frightened little girl clinging tightly. Clara held her, savoring the feel of her sweet tangles and warmth. "What happened, sweetheart?" "There was a game during recess and then I fell down," Annie stuttered, wiping tears away. "I thought I was gonna get in trouble." "I didn't want that." Clara squeezed her daughter tighter, her heart breaking at the fear in Annie's voice. "You're not in trouble. It's okay." "I'm here now," Clara whispered, trying to quell the storm brewing inside her. "Let us get you checked by the nurse, okay?" The nurse soon examined Annie and assured Clara that it was just a scrape and a bruised ego. Relief washed over Clara like a gentle tide, though resentment bubbled beneath the surface. Why did the school not even call her about something as simple as a fall? Wasn't that the kind of communication that mothers needed? With Annie's spirits notably lifting after the nurse's reassurance, Clara felt a surge of resolve surging through her. "How about we grab ice cream after?" she suggested, smiling down at Annie. The little girl's eyes lit up as she nodded enthusiastically. As they walked hand in hand to the car, Clara's phone buzzed non-stop messages from Jake, updates from work. It all felt insurmountable. But then, she thought about her little girl beside her. Yes, she was trying to climb the corporate ladder, but nothing mattered more than this. "Mommy?" Annie asked, breaking the silence as they drove leisurely to the ice cream shop. "Am I going to be okay?" Clara glanced at her, her heart swelling. "Of course, you are. You are brave. You are strong. You can handle anything that comes your way. Just like me." Annie offered her a toothy smile, and at that moment, Clara realized that she didn't have to choose between being a career woman or a mother. She could be both, for herself and for Annie. But even as she filled her head with positive thoughts, another notification pinged on her phone, the sound cutting through her moment of clarity. It was from work, a demand that made her heart sink again. "Just as I thought," she murmured under her breath, the sinking feeling creeping in. What would Jake need from her this time? Would she have to choose again? As Clara's heart raced, she could feel the balance she thought she'd found starting to tilt once more. What should she do? Could she navigate this new path, one that required her full presence in both worlds? The ice cream shop buzzed with laughter and the sound of spoons clinking against bowls. Clara watched as Annie's face lit up, the chill of the sweet treat bringing joy back into her doe eyes. With every lick of her cone, Annie shed the remnants of her earlier fright. Clara felt her breath ease slightly as she relished this moment, the two of them surrounded by the happy chaos of parents and children. But even here, a tightness gripped her chest. Jake's message loomed larger in her mind, urgent and demanding. She fought to push it aside. They would talk about it later. Right now, she wanted to soak in every ounce of this moment with her daughter. This is the best ice cream ever," Annie exclaimed, her laughter ringing like music. "Yes, but only because you're with me," Clara replied, her heart swelling with love as she watched Annie wipe sticky, chocolate-covered fingers on her dress. Clara chuckled, shaking her head. "That's a fashion statement you're making." Just as the warmth enveloped them, her phone buzzed again, more insistently this time. A familiar tension crept back in. Clara excused herself for a moment and stepped outside. She read Jake's text, its demands leaving her feeling smaller than ever. The board meeting was critical, and they needed her input. "Mommy? Are you okay?" Annie's voice drifted from the doorway, pulling Clara back to the moment. Clara smiled weakly, tucking her phone into her pocket. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a work thing." "But you said we wouldn't talk about work today." Annie pouted, crossing her arms. The disappointment on her face stung more than Clara could have ever imagined. I know I'm sorry," Clara knelt down, meeting Annie's gaze. "I promise to do better, okay? You're my priority. Can we finish our ice cream?" Annie asked, her voice brightening again. "Of course." Clara beamed, swallowing her guilt and stepping back into the shop. She knew she had to be present, no matter the distractions swirling around her. As they wrapped up their outing, Clara wondered if she could juggle it all. How could she keep showing Annie strength while managing the pressure of her career? Every step was a balancing act, and she felt like she was teetering dangerously close to falling. On the drive home, Clara was momentarily lost in her thoughts. Just then, the radio played a song from their past, one they used to dance to in the living room. Annie began singing along, her voice light and carefree, pulling Clara from her reverie. "See? You can handle anything, right?" Clara said with a wink. Annie giggled, lost in her moment of happiness. They both hummed along, but the bittersweet reminder of what waited at home gnawed at Clara. What if she really couldn't maintain this dual life? Just then, Clara's phone rang, startling her enough to drop it on the gearshift. It was Jake again. The urgency in his tone made Clara's heart race, mingling with the unease brewing inside her. "Clara, we really need to talk about your presentation," he said, the gravity of his voice amplifying her anxiety. "I'll have to call you back, Jake," she replied, her voice steady but her mind swirling with doubts. As she hung up, she felt trapped by the tug-of-war playing out in her life. Could she even hope to balance her roles? But when she looked at Annie, blissfully unaware of the storm collecting inside her mother, Clara realized that she couldn't abandon either side of herself. Just as they pulled into the driveway, Clara took a deep breath, preparing to dive back into the chaos, both at work and home. But what if she couldn't do it alone? What if help was waiting just around the corner, in the most unexpected of places? Clara stepped out of the car, her heart still racing from the call with Jake. The familiar aroma of home, the faint scent of lavender from the garden and the warm notes of dinner cooking washed over her, mixing with the remnants of anxiety clinging to her. She glanced at Annie, who bounced out of the seat, throwing her hands up in mock victory. "Mom! Let us do a dance party in the living room," Annie declared, her eyes wide with excitement. The idea was tempting. Clara felt the weight on her shoulders, the looming deadlines, and the pressure from Jake, but the sight of Annie's joyful energy melted some of her tension. "Absolutely. Dance party it is," Clara shouted, matching her daughter's enthusiasm as they hurried inside. As soon as they crossed the threshold, Clara turned on the music, and the upbeat rhythms filled the space. Annie twirled while Clara joined in, letting the music guide her motions. For a moment, it felt as if everything was perfect. The world outside faded, and it was just the two of them, dancing and laughing like no worries existed. But soon, the real world came crashing back in. Clara felt a ping of guilt as she recalled all the responsibilities waiting for her. Could she really keep this up? What if Jake expected her to place work above all else? The thought made her hesitate, a brief shadow dimming her smile. "What's wrong, Mom?" Annie's innocent question pierced through the moment. Clara knelt and cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "Nothing, honey. Just, big thoughts, you know. Dance them away." Annie laughed, pulling Clara back into the rhythm. Clara couldn't help but laugh, letting Annie's carefree spirit restore some lightness in her heart. But as the music played, the buzzing in her mind grew louder. "I'll just check my emails," she muttered, heading to the kitchen where the family tablet sat on the counter. Just as she turned it on, the screen flickered to life. A notification from Jake boldly flashed across the screen. "We really need to finalize those details tonight. Can you stay late?" The urgency hit her like a cold wave. Clara took a deep breath, feeling oxygen mix with a growing sense of dread. She turned back to Annie, who was now spinning in their small living room, blissfully unaware of her mother's internal storm. Clara bitten her lip, the weight of her choices bearing down on her. Could she really tell her daughter she had to work instead of embracing these precious moments? "Mommy, come dance with me," Annie pleaded with an engaging smile, extending her small hand. Looking at that spark of joy, Clara felt a shift. She reminded herself that moments like these couldn't be reclaimed. This was their time unraveling the chaos, experiencing the joy. She stepped forward and took Annie's hand, letting go of her worries for just a while longer. "Okay, one more song," Clara exclaimed, her voice filled with determination. It was time to choose connection over obligation, even if just for a few fleeting minutes. As they danced, Clara realized the importance of balance in her life. She didn't have to be perfect, she just needed to be there. She was learning to redefine success, one dance move at a time. Just then, her phone buzzed again, a reminder for the board meeting, creeping up on her once more. A mixture of dread and resolve twisted inside her. Could she face the challenges ahead? An enticing thought popped into her mind, a lingering question that nudged at her curiosity. What if the help she needed was right in her grasp? "Mom! Let us do the twirl!" Annie shouted, breaking Clara's train of thought. Clara twirled, embracing the moment fully, but the question remained, when would she find the courage to ask for help? As the song slowed, a realization dawned on her. What if it was time to share her burdens, to let others in? And as the music faded, she wondered what doors might open if she did. Clara awoke to the golden beams of sunlight spilling through her window, illuminating the gentle chaos of toys scattered across the floor. Annie's soft snores echoed like sweet music, a reminder of the cozy morning that awaited her. Today felt different, heavier yet filled with promise. Today was about facing the music of change and hope. With a quiet determination, Clara slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the kitchen. The familiar scent of coffee wafted towards her, stirring her heart. It had been a long week of learning, adjusting, and navigating the challenges brought by her new job. Although she felt like she was juggling 1,000 things, one truth rang clear in her heart: she could not only survive but thrive. The kettle shrieked, slicing through her thoughts. As she poured a cup, she gazed out the window at a world bathed in bright morning light. There was something reassuring about this new day, a chance to make it all work, if she played it right. "Mommy! Breakfast!" Annie's voice pulled Clara back to the present, and she smiled, her spirits lifting in an instant. "Coming, my little dinosaur," Clara called back, filling her heart with warmth as she set the coffee down and turned to whip up a simple breakfast for them both. During breakfast, Annie, wearing her bright smile, started chatting about her favorite dinosaurs. Each story spilled out freely, a reminder that while life around them grew complex, these small, joyful moments were their true treasures. "Did you know that the T-Rex has the biggest teeth?" Annie gushed, eyes alight with excitement. "I did. And his roar is like thunder." Clara chimed back, her laughter blending with Annie's as the breakfast table buzzed with stories and laughter. But even as Clara reveled in her daughter's joy, her mind began to bubble with thoughts of the board meeting that awaited her. The responsibility of leading with confidence loomed ahead like a heavy cloud. However, instead of floating alone beneath the weight of expectation, Clara's spirit whispered encouragement. She'd learned valuable lessons both at work and home. "Mommy?" Annie's innocent voice broke through again, bringing Clara back from her worries. "Yes, sweet pea. Can we dance after breakfast? I want to show you my new moves." Clara's heart filled with warmth. Returning to that dance party spirit was just what she needed. "Absolutely. Let us go all out." The pair scampered through their morning routine, giggling and weaving through the tiny apartment. When breakfast was finally done, Clara led Annie to their living room. With a soft click, she turned on the radio, and the familiar upbeat tune flooded the space. As they danced, Clara felt her body loosen with each step. For those blissful moments, worries evaporated, and laughter took charge. It was as if Annie's joy was a magical carpet, lifting her higher and higher. In this sanctuary of sound and movement, Clara resolved to strike a balance today. When they finally settled down, Clara looked at her daughter and said, "You know, being brave isn't just about big things. It's about facing your fears every single day." "But, Mommy, you're already brave," Annie exclaimed, eyes wide with admiration. A rush of gratitude washed over Clara, and it touched the very core of her being. "You inspire me to be brave, darling. You remind me every day that it's okay to step out of our comfort zone." As they shared a warm embrace, Clara felt a true shift within her. She realized that embracing this new role was not just about juggling responsibilities but finding support, connection, and love that deepened their bond. Later that day, while preparing for the board meeting, Clara felt a sudden surge of courage. Instead of isolating herself with her doubts and fears, she decided to reach out. She texted Jake, inviting him for an informal meeting. "Hey Jake. Can we chat before the meeting? I'd love your help with a few ideas." A quick response came back filled with enthusiasm. "Absolutely. Let us collaborate. Looking forward to it." As Clara made her way to the office, an unexpected lightness filled her. Surrounded by supportive colleagues and the warmth of community, she had nothing to lose by seeking help. The boardroom buzzed with activity as everyone settled in. Clara took a moment to gather her thoughts, recalling the encouraging feelings from Annie earlier. When it was finally her turn to present, she surprised herself. Standing tall, she commanded attention, using every ounce of strength to express her ideas and vision. "Together, we can create a collaborative environment that fosters innovation. I believe we should focus on teamwork and leverage our unique strengths," she said, pouring honesty into her words. As Clara spoke, the room responded positively, nodding and leaning in. Jake flashed her a proud smile from across the table, and Clara felt that sparkle of encouragement resound within her. The meeting concluded with applause and a sense of unity that filled the air, leaving Clara energized and empowered. When she returned home that evening, she found Annie sitting at the kitchen table coloring, hard at work on a bright masterpiece. "Mommy! Look! I made this for you!" she exclaimed, holding up her colorful rendition of a dinosaur parade. Clara's eyes sparkled. "It's beautiful. You're so talented, Annie." She rushed to her daughter and embraced her tightly, overwhelmed with love and pride. They settled down together at the table as Clara flipped through the pages, noticing that every stroke was a reflection of their shared bond. Each creation was an echo of understanding, care, and encouragement. As night fell, Clara felt a sense of peace enveloping her. The dance of responsibilities felt more navigable now, not tied to a single path but radiating from her heart. She smiled with newfound clarity, knowing every day would be an adventure, filled with laughter, love, and certainty. And truly, that was the beauty of living together. They would face the storms that came, hand in hand, strong and brave. Embrace your possibilities. If you found this journey inspiring, you need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories weaving hope into your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories alive. Comment below with your thoughts about this heartwarming conclusion. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the joy.